So, some of you have asked me to start reviewing coffees and maybe give a little education on coffee. But it took me a little bit of time to figure out exactly how I wanted to do it. You know, while it seemingly is a very simple process, um, figuring out how to do it so that someone who knows about coffee, like myself, not saying that I'm anything special, but can impart my information and education on coffee to people who might not understand it fully. So I decided to start talking about coffees that you might find just in the store, either pre-made coffees or drip coffees, things you might find in the store before I get to anything specialty, artisanal, hipster coffees, as it were. So I guess the first thing I'll start with is something I found in the store the other night when I went shopping. One of the biggest fads in coffee now is these small little drink cans that, cream and sugar, iced coffee, whatever else it is. So the first one I found was this Maxwell House. Everyone has heard of Maxwell House. It's one of the longest standing coffees that have been around for decades. Between Folgers and Nescafe and Maxwell House, they're all kind of interchangeable. They have different tastes, but they're all interchangeable. So Maxwell House started getting into the more into a wider array of bringing out their coffees. I did drink from it already. I was thirsty, so you have to excuse me. I'm not going to do a grand opening, but let's start just quickly about what the can says. What your education will start with this. First, it says iced coffee. Iced coffee means that it was brewed regularly with hot water, hitting the beans, and brewing the beans in kind of a harsh way. That's where you kind of get a lot of the bitterness from a coffee bean. That bitterness comes out because the water scalds the beans, and acids and oils and all that stuff are coming out of the bean in kind of a harsh way. And also when you do that, the beans that are roasted, the burn that might be on a bean, when you over roast it a little bit or whatever the case may be, those flavors become a little more prominent. The other thing you'll see here, if you can see it there, is where it says 100% Arabica coffee. Arabica is just a type of bean. It's not a region. I mean, Arabica I guess it came from a region, from the Arabian Peninsula. Yemen generally is understood that coffee was found. The myth is that it came someone who's watching the goats, a shepherd of goats, saw the goats eat these berries and then really get all hyped up because of the caffeine from it. That the myth came from Yemen, so the concept of the Arabica bean generally comes from there. That's been from the research that I've seen, at least. Other people might have other opinions on that. Look it up. Google will be a friend. But so Arabica bean is one of dozens and dozens and dozens of different type of beans that you can use. There's Robusto, there's Geishas, there's whatever else there is, but Arabica is generally where you will find coffee comes from. The other thing is coffee, especially Arabica coffee, a third of the world's production comes from, if not a little more, comes from South America, either Colombia, Brazil, around that almost eastern part of South America. So anytime you get a South American coffee, it's always going to be relatively the same flavor notes that you'll encounter. It'll be a lot more subdued generally. It will be a lot less acidic or bright, as people say, and it'll be more earthy tones where it's a little more chocolatey, a little more tobacco-y, depending on where you are, the level and the specialty of the coffee, etc., the quality of the coffee. But it's when you think of a cup of coffee, whether you get it from Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks or a gas station, it generally has the same flavor palette. It's because most coffee comes from that area, so that's what you know. That's what you're trained to understand what coffee means. So if I were to have a coffee like this, that would come from where the coffee beans are sourced from Ethiopia, it'll be a lot more fruity, and it'll be a lot more acidic, and it'll almost take you by surprise and shock your mouth that, well, I'm expecting one flavor from a coffee, and I'm not getting that, and therefore, we've all been conditioned to have an Arabica coffee, to think that's the be-all, end-all of coffee, coming from Colombia, or coming from Brazil, or whatever. But it's that's what we know as coffee. Anything else becomes kind of that, the perception of a snob coffee, the high-end hipster coffees where you can't add milk and sugar to it, and and I mean, it's just not the case. How you enjoy your coffee is incumbent on your education on this. So, and your evolvement from starting from something like this into a more open idea of what coffee can be, should be, and will be for you. And then you can start getting into, much like wine, you can start getting into pairing coffees with certain things. Certainly, I'm a kosher Jew. I certainly can't drink a nice cup of coffee with some milk in it with a hamburger. But if I wanted to eat a hamburger and I wanted a cup of coffee, I would put it with something that would almost cleanse my palate. Something like, one of my favorites would be a Papua New Guinea, a coffee from Papua New Guinea, which has, in a proper roast, might even have like a menthol-y flavor that will cleanse the palate, kind of cut the grease from the burger, and give you a totally new experience, because what it will do is it pairs nicely, and you start understanding that the flavors just work well together, especially something from Indonesia, which has it's a powerhouse. It's a flavor powerhouse. So, starting off, people aren't coffee snobs like I might be. So, we'll start off with something I found in the grocery store. There is fashion coffee, which I enjoy immensely. There's also function coffee, which, as a father of 3 young kids and a very busy guy, etc., business owner and things of that nature, sometimes you need a little function. So functionally, my first one that I'm going to be kind of reviewing today is this Maxwell House. Now I have had sip from it previously, so I'm going to do another one. So Maxwell House has been around for a long time, and they're really trying to break into a new market, outside of just brewing beans, into something else. They missed the mark. I mean, it's not good coffee. It's a functional coffee. It was watered down. You can taste that either the cream that they put in, the milk that they put in, was not whole milk. Maybe they used the skim milk, and then the sugar is just not there. And then the mix of it all together is kind of cloying on my tongue, where I'm consistently trying to swallow, and kind of clean off my tongue, because it's not allowing me to even speak properly. I guess it would be, for Maxwell House, it would be a good start. I wouldn't suggest it, but I would suggest trying it so that you know where to go from there, and that's it. I should be doing another one maybe on Monday. and we can go further. But I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, and see you later.